Fiela in English, Scene 2. Act 1, Scene 2. Lights on in the Langekloof. Outside in front of Fiela's house, under a tree, we hear how the children are chasing the ostrich to the camp. Fiela and Selling on stage. Now look at Benjamin. Selling. In front of the ostrich, and I told him he can only go with if he jogs at the back. Selling says, Leave the child, Fiela. He's not one for jogging at the back. The horse cart has been up and down here in the kloof this entire week. Strange cart. Traders. More and more of them around here. If it continues like this, we'll eventually be a buyer for each ostrich feather, says Fiela. And she continues, She's beautiful, Selling. A little skinny around the bum, but looks to me, but we'll get her fat, just wait. Selling says, It's still a long way to say what she looks like, woman. The horse cart looks like it wants to turn to this side. If it's traders, and they want to buy skins and stuff, then you tell them straight, we're dealing with Rosinski. There's a few dusty skins, that's ready, says Selling. All right. They can get dusty skins, but not for less than 2 old cloth for a skin. A hawk suddenly screams close by. My furry's hawk, yester caught my most beautiful chicken. When I turned my back, right? Today you can go back, look for prey somewhere else. I closed them all away today. And Selling says, The cart is turning upwards, Fiela. Not a single skin for less than 2 old cloths, says Fiela. Children screaming now closer. They are going to struggle to get here, to get over here, says Fiela. She moves right, spotlight on just her face. We hear her pre-recorded voice. The summer is cruel. It was like the heat of the kloof side of the front mountains didn't want to share even a little bit of mist to bring some water. Why our dear God wanted to put these massive mountains as an obstacle between the Langekloof and grace, only God himself will know. On the sea side of the mountain he planted a lot and let it rain and let it grow until a forest of miles and miles appeared. On the kloof side of the mountain he just put stones, dust, desert flowers, and aloes to make something of. That's sin. The good Lord didn't leave the kloof without grace. He left the ostrich on this side. And when the rain comes at the right time of year, then the Langekloof is in bloom and it provides food for people and animals in abundance. And then you forget about the drought that everyone had to suffer through, like now. But these sinful thoughts, because the fountain bleeds daily in a water stream alongside the trench into the dam, the goats still give mile. A few sheep are still waking round. And with all of that, Selling's hands is good with preparing the skinks and the riding props and whips and making shoes. Selling might not be much anymore. The weakness has taken over, but his hands can still work, even if some days he needs to be yelled at to get him going. She walks to the fence. I told you I will get you a female scupper. Look there, she's on her way. Selling calls from the house. Fiela, the house cart is coming this side. Fiela, he can come, screams at the children. Come bring her to run around the old camp. Make a turn with her for scupper to see her before you chase her in the other side. Speaks to Scupper. Horrible thing. You don't even look up. You don't even see how beautiful she is. David runs across the stage. Careful, Mum. Stop her in front, Benjamin. Fiela says, Work nicely with her, to Scupper. Sis, 6 riding props and 2 whips. I had to trade for her, and And you don't even look at her. Selling calls. The cart is coming here, Fiela. Fiela walks to the side of the stage and says, 2 old cloth for a skin and nothing less. Emma, you and Kitty walk to the end and stop her there. David, you and Benjamin at the top of, and Tolly, you come and help me. Stop at the bottom. Stop, Benjamin. Well done, well done. She's in. Close up, close up. Tolly, Mum, Mr. Quirce says you must send another riding props. The other one is too skinny round the body. Fiela says, you go and tell Quirce Vehemir. Sorry guys, something happened to my script. We'll be back shortly. Sorry guys. And we are back. Fiela says, you go and tell Quirce Vehemir. He will wait a long time for another riding props. Benjamin, get away from that fence. Benjamin says, she almost kicked Kitty, Mum. She was almost lekker dead. And Kitty says, Benjamin's lying, Mum. Fiela comes back. You must all get into the shade now and give the female a chance to calm down. Benjamin, from off stage, says, I'm just going to check how far my boat drifted, Mum. Fiela says, aye, the child that's always busy with his boat. Every piece of wood must always be hollowed out for a little boat. Tolly calls from the back, there's people coming, Mum. They can come, says Fiela. We hear a horse cart stop, voices in the background, and this? Selling. Probably preachers, Fiela. Fiela says, who's coming to preach on such a warm day? The long one, with glasses and book things to write, and the fat one, red in the face, come on. Langer. Good afternoon. Beautiful ostrich male you have there in the camp. He's not for sale, says Fiela. Dicker took off his hat and wipes his sweat from his head. It really gets very warm here in the kloof. Yes. Langer says, can we get something to sit on? Fiela says, what is your business, sir? Langer, census. Fiela says, what is that? The government is going to count everyone in the country. We are starting in the kloof so long, Langer says. Fiela, with the fright of death shooting through her, and why do they want to count the people? Dicker replies, don't you count your chickens at night? Fiela, her recorded inner voice. If only the female will break out and run away so that the children have to chase behind her. If only Benjamin's boat would only drift away so that he must keep looking for it and stay away from home. Langer. Can we get something to sit on? Fiela goes into the house and brings 2 leather benches outside. Dicker says, can one of you read and write? Fiela says, yes, me. I have been through reading and writing books, including Trap de Yud. If you would like to know. Langer sits with the book on his lap and places ink on the rock, and says to Selling, full name and surname? Fiela says, Selling Kamuti. Langer writes, date of birth? Selling, embarrassed, my dad always said I was born when they had to transport the English with the wagons. Transport them from where? Asks Langer. Selling, don't know. It was the English that arrived on the ships and received farms. Dicker, then it must be the 1820 settlers. And Fiela seeing Kitty peeking around the corner, and gives her a frightening look. Her pre-recorded voice says, "Please let the female break loose and run away, even if it means I might never find her again, and I can lose all the riding props and whips." Lange says, "And you, woman? During which pest or misery were you born?" Fiela says, "I will fetch the Bible, it's written in there." She fetches the Bible. Fiela Maria Apuos, born 19 October 1836, and married to Selin Kamuti on 3 January 1859. "Where were you born?" said Lange. "Here, our house stood there, at the bottom of the valley." Lange asks, "Who does this ground belong to?" "This is my ground," answers Fiela. "My dad and my grandfather dedicated their lives to the Vermeers for years. You can say they worked themselves to death for the Vermeers. When the old guy passes away, the ode of Volverkraal was put on my father's name, the inheritance letter, and everything is with Mr. Cairncross in town in Uniondale. We aren't tenants, also not just workers of this land." Lange asks, "Children?" Fiela's recorded voice says, "Lord, keep Benjamin away from this house." Lange says, "How many children do you have?" "Let me see." And she pages through the Bible. "Kitty, our eldest, born on 4 January 1856, the year after David was born. The 2nd of March 1857. Next. Tolly, on the 17th of November 1858, the year after Selling and I were married, and when we did not have children. Emma was only born on the 6th of February 1860. Then they built the white man's church in town with the decreased Mr. Vermeer's money." Lange says, "The 5th child?" Fiela pretends to read from the Bible. "Benjamin, born 13 February 1862. He is 12 now." "Anyone else living with you in this house?" Fiela answers, "On Volverkraal's ground, there's no place for people that do nothing." Lange says, "What do you make a living from?" "Whatever we can do with our hands," answers Fiela. "What exactly do you make a living from?" asks Lange. Fiela says, "Little bit of wheat, little bit of corn, little bit of vegetables, a few sheep, and milk goat. Everything depends on the water. Furthermore, Selling prepares leather skins, and every now and then we have little feathers." "Which church do you belong to?" "Independent church. It's our own church after the London Missionary Society left us to struggle on our own." Benjamin, glowing with his boat in his hand. "You drifted all the way down to the dam, Mum," says Benjamin. "I had to get a stick to get it out, and it didn't even tip over." "Afternoon, sir. Afternoon, sir." The tall one pulls off his glasses. The fat one's mouth falls open. Selling's hands rolled faster and faster in each other. Fiela recorded, "Lord, take everything I have then. Take the whole lot, but please don't take Benjamin." Lange, shocked, "Whose child is this?" "Mine," says Fiela. "But it's a white child." Fiela answers, "He's white, yes." "And a damn good-looking child as well. Whose child is this?" "It's Benjamin," answers Fiela. "My Hanskant." "Come here, child," says Lange. Fiela, "Leave the child. If you want to speak, speak to me." Lange, "Listen, woman. You know as good as me that there's something very strange going on here. This can't be your child, but you put him down as your own. Where did you get this child?" Fiela says, "This is my Hanskant." Lange says, "That you got from where, I'm asking you." "Where does one get Hanskut? I got him where his mother left him. That's where I got him." Langer says, "Where was that?" Fiela, "Just where you're sitting now, sir." "When?" "Almost 9 years ago. Middle of the night." "He looks older than 9." "He is." "How old is he?" "I don't know. I guessed his age at about 3 that night." "You said you found him here by your back door. Did he stand or sit, or was he lying?" "He stood there." "You think I think you're lying," says Langer. "Why will I lie?" asks Fiela. "I still woke up that night because of a child crying, and when I opened the door he was standing there. Someone left him in front of my door." "Did you hear anything?" said Dicker. "No, just the child." "But it didn't give you the right to keep him. It's a white child." Fiela says, "Did you want me to let him stand outside?" "Don't try and be clever, woman. You had a white child on your ground and between all your other children in the house, and you know as much as I do that it's not the right thing." Fiela says, "What about the brown children on the white people's farms and their houses and between their children?" "That's a different situation," says Mother. "In the evenings those children go home. It's the workers' children. This is a wrong thing." "Says who?" "Says me. If you took a lost lamb and look after it until it's grown, who's going to tell you whose sheep it is?" Dicker says, "Why did you never take the child to the big farm, to Petrus Zondach? He is a well-known man, and we would have known what to do." Fiela says, "Mr. Petrus was there by the sea." "Then you could have taken the child to town, to the magistrate." "Magistrate was where? Our town only got a magistrate the other day," says Fiela. Selling says, "Fiela, tell sir about the field cornet." Field guard. Langer says, "What about the field cornet?" A week after I got the child, I went down to inform the field cornet," tells Fiela, "but he was away in Dugas to chase sheep thieves. When I went again to hear if he was back, they said he went to a funeral in Haarlem." "And then you didn't go again?" "No, by then the child did not want to leave my dress. I had to take him then." "So you secretly kept the child?" "I didn't steal him from anybody." Benjamin. "Mother." Fiela says, "Go play, Benjamin. Go and get your boat on the water." Dicker says, "People, wait a minute. How long again did you say he was dropped in front of your back door?" 9 years ago, answers Fiela. Dicker turns to himself towards Langer. "Why do I now remember another thing? Do you remember the child that disappeared in the forest back then? I even went with the new forest keeper to Deepvalla, and there the other forest keeper asked me to give the message to the magistrate, Blake, in Neisner. Mr. Blake sent the police officer the next day to help the woodchoppers to search for the child. Do you remember the child?" Langer says, "I remember something about it." Dicker, "And they never found that child." Langer says, "Was it a boy?" Dicker replies, "Yes. And I can almost swear that he was also 3 years old." Fiela, standing in front of Dicker. "Listen here, sir. Now you're trying to fish in a bucket." Dicker says, "Wait, woman. The child that I am talking about disappeared here behind in Combs Forest. I'm remembering everything more clearly now. If you go over the mountain from here and you had to draw a line, I swear you would get exactly where the boy disappeared in the forest." And Fiela says, "Sir, you have seen what it looks like straight over and behind this mountain. It's not a mountain. It's a mountain on a mountain on a mountain before the mountain is finished and the forest begins. And, sir, you know what the forest looks like. But now, sir, you want to come and put a suggestion that a child of 3 could wander from there to here. You are not right in your head, sir." Dicker says, "It's not possible." Fiela says, "Goodness, sir, just as little as that ostrich male on the other side will manage to lay an egg, will a child at the age of 3 make it from the forest to here." "What about on the road?" says Langer. The road was where? 9 years ago the road was still unfurnished. I am telling you, sir, that the child I found in my back door did not come far. He was clean and neat. Don't come and make things up that shouldn't be made up. Here, today, sir. Langer stands up. This is a case for the higher authority, not for us. Sir, Fiela says, sir, leave this thing. Leave the child. Langer says, can the child not remember how he got here? No. Langer says, son, come to me. Fiela says, leave the child. Langer says, I just want to ask him something, woman. Fiela says, I asked him everything that I had to. He knows nothing. Dicker says, maybe we must take the child with us. Fiela, outraged, says, then you must first cut my thought today. It's my child, and he will stay my child. Everyone in the kloof knows it and keeps their mouths off of him, and now you want to put your paws on him? To Langer, you, sir, you wrote down his name in the government book as Benjamin Kamuti, and it will stay written like that for the length of days. You lied to me, said Langer. Fiela says, just as little as you know the truth, sir. I don't even know the truth. Langer said, did you even try and look for the mother? Fiela says, a sheep that throws away her lamb never turns round. The fat one moves towards Benjamin. Dicker says, I won't do anything to you, son. I just want to look at your boat. Fiela says, leave the child. Dicker says, I won't touch him, woman. It's a beautiful little boat. Did you make it yourself? I'm just asking. I love little boats. Did you make it yourself? Benjamin said, my dad helped me, sir. The Langer and Dicker suddenly look at each other when they hear the boss. Fiela says, he speaks like us. It can't be any different. Dicker says, tell me, son, how did you get here? Think carefully, then you tell me. Benjamin says, I don't know, sir. Dicker says, I'm sure you can remember if you just try hard enough. Of your house or your mother? Pauses. Silling says, you are scaring the child, sir. He doesn't know any mother. He only knows Fiela. Langer slams the book closed and picks up the inkpot and says, we are going back to Neisner tomorrow. We are going to find out about the other child. Music. The lights die down. And then the lights come out again. The same scene, everyone busy with something. Preparing the skin. Oopsie, sorry. Fiela's recorded voice says, February, March, April. Before winter, it was like the rock that was placed in my heart in February became lighter. I didn't wake up every morning thinking, today is the day they'll come back. Silling says, they won't come any more, Fiela. Not any more. Fiela says, children, from tomorrow the ostriches must go to the field. Kitty and Tully must chase Skopper to the field and look after him. And the other day David and Emma must chase Polly to the field and look after her. Benjamin, what about me, Mum? Fiela, you stay home. You don't have ears. You keep running in front of the ostriches. They are going to kick you open one day. Tully, Mum, can't Benjamin rather go with me? We can look after Skopper. Kitty is just going to walk the first bush and sleep, and then I must look after the ostriches alone. Kitty will sleep behind a bush until I fetch her from there with a whip. Prepare those skins, Benjamin. This is not a piece of washing you are washing. Lights die out. Fiela in spotlight recorded. The ostriches must start breeding so that there can be money coming into the trunk to buy the ground. But Selling and I are worried that Skopper will never come to a census with Polly. He's too fat, too lazy to take on a female. Polly isn't dancing. Then the end of April arrived. Lights on. Benjamin screams from the back and comes running in. Mum, 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 Mum. Fiela says, what is it? Benjamin said, the female, Mum. She's dancing. The female is dancing, says Fiela. Yes, Mum. says Benjamin. Fiela. Selling! The female is dancing! David, Tully, Kitty, Emma, the female is dancing! How was that, guys? That's the end of scene 2. Sorry for changing my voice so much, and sorry for all the other technical difficulties in this episode. In this scene, I should say. And I hope to see you again in scene 3.